It's been 10 long years since the Colts won an AFC division title. And today we start our journey with the Colts on Madden 25. The Colts have been pretty much in the middle of that division, second and third, pretty consistently for the past 10 years, dating back to 2014 where they did win the division. And they have been through a slew of quarterbacks the last 5 years, and Andrew Luck, Brissett, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Ryan, and also Gardner Minshew. Even bringing in like veterans has kind of been their thing. But today we get to see the career journey of Anthony Richardson at quarterback and leading out this team that has really been starving to get back to the playoffs and become relevant in the NFL once again. Our head coach to start this journey will be Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne is actually the receivers coach in real life. We have promoted him all the way to head coach for a new storyline here in this journey. Now, in my Madden franchise series, I always play on all Madden. This year, I found a sweet spot all Madden with the accelerated clock on 15, and I think that is what we're going to rock with here in this series. Now, let's talk about how we will run this series. So, I am going to treat this Madden franchise a little bit different. We're going to play a lot of the moments, and we're going to get through seasons quickly. I really want the RPG element that Madden is attempting to add to franchise with new storylines and having players demand trades, things like that. I really want that part of franchise to play out in the long term. And so we're going to get through seasons in this series and really get through multiple games and episodes. And we will show a lot of gameplay as well. Don't get it twisted there. But we will also be moving along pretty quickly. So we start out 2024 with a pretty veteran roster with a bunch of new players added in the last couple of years, and we will talk about them. But we are going to be building around second-year quarterback Anthony Richardson. His rookie season was cut short due to injury. He hurt his shoulder about a couple of games in. He had about 4, I believe, but on the ground, we already know what he can do. He's 6'4", 6'5", and he is 250 pounds. I mean, the guy is an absolute monster. He can run well. He ran for 4 touchdowns last year, but he has a big arm. The accuracy has been the question, and really the experience. He came out of Florida not having much experience as a starter, but he had a lot of physical tools, which a lot of GMs salivated over. Every young quarterback needs a strong running game, and the running game is led by Jonathan Taylor. A couple of years ago, he had an 1,818 touchdown season, and since then, he hasn't eclipsed 1,000 yards, so he's looking to get back to being an elite running back here in this NFL. He still is, but getting the production to kind of match his name value. Behind him, we have 2 running backs, 2 young ones. Trey Sermon has been in the league a few years, but Evan Hull, who was drafted out of Northwestern last year, got injured in the opener. I'm really going to be looking for him to kind of back up Taylor, and in case of injury, I'm looking for him to be that, primary backup. At receiver, we have Michael Pittman Jr., who just got paid a lot of money, and he is going to be our number 1 for sure so far, or at least in the first few years to begin this series. I am excited to see what he can do in Madden because in real life, I think there's been one thing. He has not put together an 1,000-yard, 10-touchdown season. I think in order to be considered an elite receiver, you have to do that on a consistent basis. Behind him, we have really 3 young receivers I'm really excited about. First is Josh Downs. We saw what he did in his rookie year. He was really, really good. I am excited to see what he can do. He will primarily play in the slot and also be the second receiver on the field when there is 2 wide receiver sets. Alec Pierce was a speed guy out of Cincinnati. He is a pretty reliable target. But I think the one guy I'm really excited for is A.D. Mitchell out of Texas. And I think that Mitchell is going to probably be used as a gadget player early on, but I know he has a lot of upside, and he's only 21. He's going to have time to develop. And those are going to be the top 4, I think, receiver weapons in this offense, at least to start this series. At tight end, I think we need to get a young tight end to really develop. I do like Jelani Woods. Now, he hasn't been too productive so far in his career. You can see his stats here, 3 touchdowns to his name. So I'm going to give him a shot to develop along with Mo Alley Cox as the veteran in this tight end group. The offensive line has a ton of experience, led by Quentin Nelson. We all know he's an all-pro. Ryan Kelly at center. They did just draft Bordolini, who is a rookie this season. They also have Will Fries at right guard, who is, I believe, the youngest offensive lineman here. They did draft Gonzalez at right tackle. He will be a developmental offensive lineman, but all these linemen are kind of locked up for at least 2-3 years, so we don't really have to worry about that. On the defensive side of the ball, we have a couple of pass rushers, but I think this was the biggest need in the offseason for the Colts. We have Kwity Paye, who had 8.5 sacks last year, but in the NFL draft in the first round, they drafted Laiatu Latu out of UCLA. Very good rookie. I think the one thing that, really stuck out for him in the draft process is that he just put through a lot of effort in getting after the quarterback, and that's where he specializes in. So he's definitely going to need to help out right away in that department. We're going to lean on him and develop him throughout this series. Up the middle, we have DeForest Buckner, who is the veteran and the best defensive lineman on this entire roster. We all know what he can do. He's had pretty much 5 straight seasons with at least 7 sacks. I mean, that is just production. And then next to him, we have Grover Stewart, who is 30 years old now, but still very, very good. And I think that these two will play next to each other for the next few years in this series. They're both under 3-year contracts remaining. And I think that we're pretty much set up the middle. Even barring injury, we have some pretty good depth at defensive tackle, including Jonah Lalu, who was drafted this past season. Now at linebacker, we have some pretty good players like Franklin, like EJ Speed, who led the team in tackles last year. And I think that this is a position that we'll probably want to draft for the future throughout this series. But probably the biggest hole on the defense is probably cornerback. I look at Kenny Moore. I like Kenny Moore. I just don't think he's elite in this league. He is probably a top, I think they have it rated right, top 15 to 20 corner, but nothing elite here. And I think that's where the Colts are lacking. They do have Julius Brents. He is a second-year cornerback. He has some good skills to him. And then they have some other guys they drafted like Micah Abraham this year out of Marshall. He's got some good speed, but he does have to develop his skills. But I think, this is a group that we're going to need to put some time into and develop. And Micah Abraham right now as a rookie, he's going to be my guy to develop in this secondary. Jalen Jones is also a second-year cornerback. I do want to highlight him. He's not the fastest. He's got 89 speed, but if he plays in the nickel, that might be okay. At safety, we have Rodney Thomas. He's 25 years old. And then we have Jalen Simpson, who is a rookie. And we're going to definitely, develop both of those guys. I'm not really sure who's going to be the starter there. But at strong safety, Julian Blackmon will definitely be the starter. I might start Rodney Harrison at the free safety. I'm not exactly sure. We'll have to look at, some of their ratings and see, what works well where. But we start training camp, and I want to start developing these players, starting with Anthony Richardson. There are a couple of drills here that I have not done in a while, so it was a little bit tricky here, but developing Richardson is definitely going to be a big priority in this series, and obviously he's in his second year. My number one thing to improve with him is going to be his accuracy. So you're going to see a lot of upgrades where we upgrade him. It's going to be mostly based around accuracy. He's got the physical traits already, but we're going to make that a big priority. I talked about it earlier, but I do want to begin to kind of develop the future at running back, at least backing up Jonathan Taylor and Evan Hull. Now, Taylor did just agree to a big contract, but that does not mean that some of his injury issues just go away. He has been semi-durable, but running backs just have a short shelf life. So it's going to be important to develop guys behind him that pretty much can, do what, not maybe what he can do, but at least give us some of that production that Taylor is going to give. At receiver, we're going to mostly train two guys right now, and that's Downs and also Pittman. I could have put A.D. Mitchell in. That could have been a choice as well, but I'm deciding to double down on Downs along with Pittman. Will Fries, we finally have some offensive lineman drills here in Madden, which is pretty cool. We have pocket protector. There's another one, I believe, that isn't in a training camp battle or a training camp drill, but it's in a mini camp game. Then we decide to go with the I forgot what this is called, DB coverage, and we go with Julius Brents. We're going to continue to develop him as our number 2 cornerback. Zaire Franklin will be our guy. We go with chase and tackle here. They made chase and tackle a lot easier than it was last year, because I don't know if you guys played Madden last year, but this drill, the running backs broke so many tackles, it was ridiculous. It made it pretty hard to do. But now we hop into the preseason, and I'm only going to play one preseason game here, and it's versus the Broncos, just to get a feel for the team and a feel for the game. The game just did come out, so still getting used to the game. To me, I would say that this was more of a, building block year for Madden. They didn't really add a whole lot of features that changed franchise, which is why we're kind of switching up how we kind of run my franchise, because usually we would play every game. It would be like 4 quarters. It would take me a lot of time, but now I kind of want to play the moments and get through seasons and get through some of these scenarios that they introduced. So let's start out here in the first quarter. There is a handoff to Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin, picking up a gain of 10. 2nd and inches now. Screen pass called, and that one maybe could have been a defensive pass interference. Not sure if they would have called that, but 3rd and inches. We give it right back to Taylor, and Taylor is going to be a problem because that offensive line is really, really good, and I think Taylor is primed to rush for an 1,000-yard season and maybe even 15 touchdowns again. Here's a throw across the middle. That's Mo Alley-Cox to the 20, to the 15. He eventually gets run down at the 8-yard line. What a throw from Anthony Richardson. They sent the cover 0 blitz, and he's just calm in the pocket and makes an excellent throw, and Mo Alley-Cox does not even have to break stride. So inside the 10-yard line now, we have 4 wide receivers out there: Pittman, Downs, Pierce, and A.D. Mitchell. And Richardson takes off. It's a touchdown. What a drive to open the preseason as Richardson, that's all he's going to play today. He's just going to get those reps, and he scores here. Doesn't really matter too much. Just want to get, his juices flowing here, get him some rapport with the offense, and it looks good already. Here is Bo Nix under center here for the Broncos. Should be the starter here in real life as he hands off this time to Javonte Williams, and he picks up a first down. Now in the shotgun, throwing across the middle. This one is going to be caught to about the 2-yard line by the new signee from the Lions, Josh Reynolds. Under center again. This is Stidham in the game this time, and he will find Troy Franklin for the touchdown. And they will score from a yard out, and our defense gives up a score. So now into the second quarter, the backups are in the game here for the Colts, and in comes the veteran Joe Flacco at quarterback. Now, one thing I'm going to be doing is finding a young quarterback to develop behind Anthony Richardson, just in case there's injury, and Evan Hull puts it on the ground. And that's not what you want to see here in the preseason, especially since I was just talking him up as being, a guy that will be the primary backup to Jonathan Taylor. And he puts the ball on the ground. But I still want to get him some playing time, get him some experience. So here we are in the third quarter as we hop back into the game. Here is Joe Flacco now close to the 50-yard line. And Flacco is not as mobile, and he will throw this one into the ground. I was waiting for a deep route to develop right there. Now, later in the third quarter, here's a quick throw, and that's caught by A.D. Mitchell, who's going to get a lot of clock here in the preseason as we try to get him some XP going into the regular season. He will be listed right now as probably the number 4 wide receiver, but he will get in a lot with a couple of formations. We try to force it to him that time to get him a touchdown. That does not work. Now a 2nd and goal. Flacco in the shotgun, throws out to the flats, and he's got Evan Hull, who will score from 2 yards out. It's a touchdown, getting him some XP here in the preseason. And that's all pretty much what we're going to be contributing here in the preseason part of the season. And Evan Hull, if he can show that he can catch the ball in the backfield and really show off that part of the game, he will get some playing time, even with Jonathan Taylor getting the majority of the snaps. We do get the win here in the opener and continue preseason and really get introduced to these storylines. So we have our first press conference after our first game. Here is Reggie Wayne out on the podium, and the reporter asks, "You should be having a left end position battle. Which stat will determine the winner of the battle between Kwity Paye and Tyquan Lewis?" I talked about Kwity Paye a little bit ago, but 8.5 sacks. And just to appease the reporter, we will answer with most TFLs. Honestly, it doesn't matter if Kwity Paye gets less TFLs than Tyquan Lewis. Kwity Paye is the starter. I could have said there was no competition there, but I did not want to create any animosity in the locker room. So Kwity Paye is going to probably be the starter, but we all know that this is pretty much no competition. Kwity Paye is 25 years old. Tyquan Lewis is 4 years older, and Kwity Paye has been more productive. He's a higher overall. It just doesn't make sense to have Tyquan Lewis really battling for that starting job, but it looks like, according to that little news scroll, it looks like Kwity Paye told the reporters that he's going to win the job. So the next press conference is right after. Good morning. Now that we're in the middle of football camp, I got some roster questions for you. Okay, let's go. Reggie Wayne on the podium, the new head coach of the Colts. Quick question about outside linebacker E.J. Speed. Remember, he led the team in tackles last year. What do you have him working on in training camp? Now, as a linebacker that's not primarily a pass rusher, I'm going to say play recognition, because I want him to make plays. I want him to be a leader on the defense. And since, rushing the passer isn't really his specialty, I'm going to have him just be a good coverage linebacker that will, diagnose plays, stuff the run, and be that type of linebacker to make plays. So he does get +2 play recognition added to his attributes right now. So we do actually sim on in preseason. We actually go undefeated 3-0. And now the offensive coordinator, Garrett Pratt, is reaching out to us and asking who won the starting job. Why is the offensive coordinator reaching out when this is literally a defensive coordinator that should be reaching out? But yes, I agree. Kwity Paye won the job. Doesn't matter what he did anyway. But he earns +3 block shedding, finesse moves, power moves for the next 3 games, and +5 morale for the entire team. So I'm not sure why the entire team got a morale boost because of that. Maybe because they were happy with the decision, or we kind of followed through with what we were going to say. That's probably what it is. But I will take it, because morale does give a boost to overall as well. Coach, let's talk about expectations. What can fans expect from your defense? And I'm going to say, since I don't really know how, getting after the quarterback is really going to go, I'm going to say stopping the run. And I think that we can do that pretty well, especially with Glover and our defensive linemen up front with, the big guys with Latu now and E.J. Speed now getting to play recognition. And we're going to say allowing less than 75 rush yards per game. I think that's doable. That sounds kind of realistic here for this team. And I am excited to see, this defense really show up. I'm going to go through this quickly, but we did have to cut about 20 players to get to the 53-man roster. Is it 53 now? Or is it like 55? I'm not exactly sure. But we do end up cutting a bunch of guys, and these are some back-end guys. We moved some to practice squad. We cut some, at least the ones that seemed like they were eligible for the practice squad, we ended up cutting. But I do want to add some guys that are cut from other teams, so I will be covering that probably next episode. So we have a lot of upgrade points for our roster after preseason, and this is actually a lot. 2 upgrades pretty much for the star players, starting with Michael Pittman. And I do want to kind of get him into the end zone a lot more. So I think what I'm going to upgrade is that physical ability. In the red zone, I'm going to probably throw him some fade routes, some 50-50 balls. We're going to go deep. I wouldn't say at a large portion of the throws, but we are going to try the defense deep, especially with Michael Pittman now with A.D. Mitchell added to the mix with his speed. We are going to be, throwing into tight windows with him because he's got that 97 catch in traffic. That morale boost does help also, so he's close to 90 overall. He's at 88 his true overall, but +1 with morale. He's at 89 right now, and I'm going to be looking to get him in the top 10 as far as overalls go here in this game. We do have a couple of upgrades for Julius Brents. He was one of the guys that we did do a mini camp drill for, and he is going to be the number 2 cornerback in this room. And I'm just going to upgrade his zone here. He does get a man coverage upgrade, so I guess that helps as well. But we're also going to upgrade his man. So we got a man upgrade with zone, and now he gets a zone with man. So he goes up +1 with that one in zone and goes up +2 with that upgrade in man. Obviously, man coverage is his weakness. He's at about 70 man coverage with even the morale boost right now. Anthony Richardson, obviously he would have some upgrades here. And like I said, the general thing I want to upgrade with Richardson is that accuracy. So he goes up +2 in deep accuracy. And with the second one, he goes up +2 again in deep accuracy. So the game must be telling me something. They want us to go deep here. So I mentioned that's going to be a big part of our game. And I want to, take the top off of the defense. And that's kind of what we will do here. Evan Hull has an upgrade as well, and it's going to be very, very important that we do develop him. Now, I try to upgrade the elusive back. I'm thinking that maybe that wasn't the best choice because I do want to get his break tackling up a little higher. I want to make sure his carrying is up because we already saw him fumble in the preseason, so I want to make sure that is all good. DeForest Buckner. I blanked on his name earlier. I was trying to say the big guys up front, but DeForest Buckner is going to be a guy that has an upgrade. Number 7 ranked defensive tackle in the game right now. Moving on, Jonathan Taylor and Zaire Franklin are next. Jonathan Taylor has 1 upgrade. I obviously didn't do the mini camp drill with him because I think it's important to develop for depth as well. Evan Hull is going to play a big role, especially if Taylor does get banged up, which is probably likely. Running backs just get banged up. It just happens. So we just want to make sure we develop both of those guys. Zaire Franklin has an upgrade. He's going to be the leader of this defense. And we'll see if he or EJ Speed leads us in tackles this season. And he has 90 tackling. He is a top 15 middle linebacker. I don't think we have anything to worry about here at this position. We don't have to really look at the draft early on. Maybe down the road we will, but I think we're solidified at that position. Josh Downs going into his second year out of Cincinnati. He's got good speed. I want to develop his route running a lot more. And just to get him just as an all-around receiver, he's got, decent size at 5'10". He is a good route runner right now, but I want to make him elite. I'll see if we can get, 3 1,000-yard receivers. That would be awesome with Josh Downs. Maybe A.D. Mitchell or Alec Pierce. I'm not sure which one will be that number 3. And then obviously Michael Pittman. The offensive line is going to have upgrades throughout this series, but I think they're kind of an aging group. They're not old, but in Madden, you mostly get a lot of XP early on in your career, and it kind of dies down as you get towards the end of your 20s and into your 30s. Alec Pierce has an upgrade here, and like I said, he's going to be probably the number 3 to start out this season. And then we'll see, how A.D. Mitchell contributes, if he will be, given some more playing time throughout the season. But right now, Alec Pierce will be penciled in as that number 3. So here's the Colts schedule, and I would say this is actually a pretty tough schedule. If you talk about non-divisional games, the Packers and Bears are going to be tough. The Steelers are going to be tough. The Dolphins are definitely going to be tough. And then you look at the, Lions. They're a playoff team, a championship team at that. At the Broncos, maybe that's a lighter game. Sorry for my Broncos. I'm literally a Broncos fan in real life. But we'll see what happens because this is going to be a very tough schedule here in year 1, and we'll see how Anthony Richardson does in his first full season, hopefully. Hit subscribe, hit that like button. I hope you enjoyed this intro episode, and we're going to start this series in short order. Stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.